And we're live, guys.
All right.
Hello. Welcome to Rombauer Hour Virtual Tasting. This is the third one of these that we've done. My name's Rich Allen. I'm the Director of Viticulture and Winemaking for Rombauer Vineyards, and I have my counterparts with me today.
Yep, and I'm Luke Clayton, the winemaker.
Andrew Holloway, Associate Winemaker.
So, yeah, the whole winemaking team, basically. Today, we've got probably the tasting most people have been looking forward to more than anything. Sure. And we're going to taste through our entire portfolio of Rombauer Chardonnays. This is something that we're, I would say, probably pretty well known for is Chardonnay. We did send out tasting kits. We had them available during the week for everyone to try, and you can see the wines that we have up on the screen now that we're going to taste today. It is a live feed on our Facebook and YouTube. The link is in our bio. It's on Instagram, on Twitter, on the Rombauer page. You should have got an email, so you should be able to get to it there. It is a live stream of questions coming in down the side. They come very, very fast. My screen is
moving,
pinging at me constantly. There's lots and lots of questions coming in. If we don't get to all the questions, please know we're not ignoring you. Andrew's trying his best to filter.
2 weeks training isn't good enough here.
Yeah,
third
on
time
both YouTube and Facebook. Our marketing director, Heather's online answering questions. So is our marketing assistant, Jesse. I know Bob Kniebel, our president's on Facebook, typing away, answering people's questions. But we're not ignoring you. But if you have a really challenging question that we haven't answered because we missed it, you can always email info@rombauer.com and we will get back to you. But today we're going to taste through all of our 2018 Chardonnays, as I said. We're going to start with the Rombauer Chardonnay, which is on the left of the screen right now. This is the quintessential California Chardonnay that we're famous for. Then we're going to move through a couple of our single vineyard Chardonnays, our Buckley Station and our Home Ranch Chardonnay. And then we'll finish off with the Proprietor Reserve Chardonnay, which is our top tier of Reserve Chardonnay. And then we'll finish it off with something that's a personal favorite of mine, which is our Botrytis Chardonnay, which is a dessert wine, which is very sweet, called Joy. So if you've just joined us, now is a good time to
pour yourself a glass.
Pour yourself a glass. So I'm going to put that in Andrew's capable hands.
Yeah, I've also been trained well on this. So,
as we taste through the wine today as well, we're doing food pairings for you. A lot of you don't know our founder, Colonel Rombauer. His great aunt, Irma Rombauer, wrote The Joy of Cooking in 1931. So they've got a new edition out with a bunch of new recipes in it. And we'll be pairing the wines with some of those today. We'll put them up on the screen. We'll also have our favorite pairings.
Some of our favorites from the book and some of our favorites personally.
Yeah, I definitely have a favorite with the Proprietor Chardonnay. But to give you a little bit of brief history on Rombauer, especially on Chardonnay, it was the third varietal Rombauer ever made in 1982. We were founded in 1980. But it wasn't until 1990 that Kerner, he basically discovered Carneros for himself. Obviously, it was already pretty well known by then, and saw the quality of the fruit down there and what he could do with that for making our style of Chardonnay. So the first couple of years, it was sourced from the Napa Valley, 1982 through to 1989. But in 1990, we started sourcing from Carneros. We started working with people like the San Giacomo family, and it really changed the style of Chardonnay we're making. It was a high-quality fruit. It could stand up to barrel fermentation, malolactic fermentation, and they're sort of some of the core techniques we use today. When we talk about Chardonnay at Rombauer, we definitely have a house style. It's definitely a richer, riper style, which we'll go into in more detail, and Luke and Andrew will...
just like classic California, really, but we'll get into it.
Hold your horses, Andrew. Hold your horses. What I would suggest doing, if you're at home, is crack that first bottle of Chardonnay, and we're going to dive right in here. So,
yeah,
take it away, Luke.
All right. Wow. All right. Wow. Classic 2018 Carneros Chardonnay. So the fruit sourcing for this vineyard is Napa and Sonoma side fruit. It's beautiful down there in Carneros. Nice warm days, so we get the nice ripe fruit. But then the cool nights, which help retain that natural acidity.
Yeah, what I might do is I might put a slide up on the screen to show people here. This is the southern end of the Napa Valley. I'll get my cursor up over here. And you'll see the Carneros region here. It spans both Napa and Sonoma counties.
Which is incredibly unique.
Yeah.
To span two counties.
To span two
especially,
counties.
I mean.
But it's at the southern tip of the Napa Valley. And you can see basically down here, Buckley Station will be tasting a wine from that today. It's the most southern vineyard in Napa Valley. And if you cross over into Sonoma, you'll see a couple of our growers over there. But you can see right at the bottom here of the Napa Valley is where Carneros is located. And that proximity to the bay gives you that cooling influence, helps you retain acid, but allows you to get the fruit really ripe. And that's what we're looking for when we...
That's one of the biggest unique things for Carneros for me is the amount of ripeness you can get, but still keep it so fresh. I mean, you could easily get Chardonnay ripe in a warmer climate, but it would be so flabby and over extracted.
Yeah.
Or it would get so lean and high acid without those intense fruit flavors. So what we found the perfect kind of mix and balance of both there.
Yeah,
it's such
definitely.
key.
And there's 5 key components to, we believe, Rombauer Chardonnay. It's that ripe fruit, the creamy mid-palate, vanilla oak, buttery finish, and that holds it all together is that juicy acidity, which is key for our wines. But with all these Chardonnays, we should tell you how we make them.
Yeah.
It's easy to drink it, but how we make them. So basically everything's still 100% hand-picked. We mainly night pick, so the fruit comes in nice and cold to help retain that freshness. We whole cluster press. Overnight it settles in tank, and then we rack it off all the heavy lees or sediment in the tank. And then it goes to barrel, and it primary ferments for about 2 weeks to a month.
Yeah.
And then secondary fermentation or the malolactic fermentation, it goes from anywhere from a couple of months to 6 months, depending on the year. And then every week, 7 to 10 days, we have guys that go in and stir every barrel. And that helps add that creaminess and richness. And some of the guys in the cellar have been doing it for 30, 20 odd years.
Decades. You're talking decades, not individual years.
Yes. But it's those key components that we do and continue to do and have been doing since the late 90s that has helped us make our Chardonnay and improve them and allowed us to make these single vineyards and the reserve Chardonnays every year.
Yeah,
right?
Something incredible about that is it's something you can't imitate with. You have to actually put in the work. I mean, every single barrel is getting stirred every week, basically. Every week, it's 7 to 10 days. And it just requires a lot of handwork every week. And it's one of those things that the guys go and stir all the barrels, and as soon as they finish, it's basically like the Golden Gate Bridge analogy. You paint to one end, you turn around, and you start turning around, and you keep going. And it's just a continuous, basically, back and forth. But, I mean, the reward is that creamy texture that, I mean, you're speaking about. It's an incredible...
Yeah,
incredible result.
You know, I know you spoke about what we call the 5 core components: that ripe fruit, the creamy palate, vanilla oak, buttery finish, and acid. But it's the interplay of those 5 components and how we bring those into balance that makes the wine very unique. And I always say, when you have those 5 core components in balance, that's what we call a Rombauer Chardonnay. Right. It's very hard to tell what's sweet, ripe fruit with, peach that flows into like creaminess, that flows into vanilla, that flows into a buttery component, and it all blends seamlessly across the palate. And I would like to think, for us and what we do, that when you have those 5 core components in balance, you have a Rombauer Chardonnay. And when they're not in balance, if the wine's over-oaked or it's maybe there's no creaminess or no butteriness, and I always say you have one of our competitors' wines.
Right.
But when you have the full gamut of winemaking techniques backed up by really high-quality fruit, that's what we're looking for, and that's what we call a Rombauer Chardonnay.
Yeah, that's what we'll always go back to the fruit source for what makes the wines. I mean, starting raw material is always going to be the most important. And you can see the end result, but it's I don't know, it's just an incredible. It's such a sliding scale all the time, because if you just did the same thing every year, you can't. You have to work on those. You can see fruit intensity go up. Well, it needs a little bit more acid, and so we're always working on balancing each one of those little interplaying. I mean, nothing works individually, really, is what I'm trying to get across. I don't know how well I can articulate this.
Yeah.
it's like something in my head that I'm trying to get out. But
Well,
I'm picturing these 5 little sliding scales.
You would think you would know what you're talking about, considering how much Chardonnay we've tasted the last 2 weeks. We're actually working on blends right now in the cellar, and we've been obviously selecting lots to bring up for blending for the wine you're trying now for the next vintage. But we've also been selecting reserve lots and reserve barrels and tasting several hundred barrels a day.
Like 400 this week.
So I would have thought you would have known what you're talking about by now.
I would hope. I think maybe I'm just I don't know. I'm
getting all romantic.
My
Chardonnay, my barrels.
Yeah, my Chardonnay, my barrels. I'm working them towards their final goal.
But you're right. I understand, because every harvest is slightly different.
It is. Yeah.
So in cooler years, we have certain challenges. Warm years, we want to help retain the acid. So it's all about making sure we adjust depending on what Mother Nature gives us.
And one of the biggest things is, I mean, every year we keep every block as separate as possible. And so we look at the 2018, 140 separate individual lots that contribute to it.
Yep.
And so working with those blending components allows us to create the depth, basically the consistency to where if something's not meeting the criteria of what we're looking for, it's gone. Yep. And so allowing that 9 months individually and then blending them at the end allows us that flexibility. And I think that's one of the big keys is really maintaining that quality. Yeah, for sure.
Well, no great wine can be had without food. So I think talk about food pairings now. I know this is something that you're pretty passionate about, Andrew. Being from a restaurant background.
So our joy of cooking pairing is fried chicken, which of course I won't debate because I did fried chicken for lunch today, and I'm having fried chicken for dinner tomorrow night. And I'm sure Chardonnay is going to be in each one of those meals. Well, not lunch today. Not lunch. Well, it's
Andrew is a big boy. He can handle all that fried chicken.
I need some fried chicken to keep me going. I have like the 4 core components. It's wine, coffee, fried chicken, and steak.
I've actually even seen people have Rombauer Chardonnay because of the depth and the richness of the wine actually have steak with it. And I think it was a couple of years ago, Sarah Jessica Parker posted on Instagram, it was Rombauer night, and she was having a steak with Rombauer Chardonnay.
Well, it's definitely like the red wine of white wines because it can stand up to so much.
Yeah.
It doesn't have the tannic structure, but the weight of the fruit and the acid can help blend with. It can be light on its feet and work with a really delicate dish, or stand up to something a little bit heavier. It's amazing the range of flavors that it can stand up to. What do really complement?
What do you usually pair with it, Luke? I know you and your wife, especially your wife. It's definitely one of her favorite wines.
Really, it's not pairing. It's just whatever having for dinner. she just likes the taste, and it's a good wine, and it goes with most things.
Yep.
I mean, it goes with Zoom conference calls this week, maybe a little bit more.
Yes.
Shelter-in-place cocktails. Yeah. Well, we're gonna move on to the next wine now, which is our Buckley Station. I'm going to get Luke to sort of point that one out on the screen there, since it's sitting right in front of him. But we're going to do something
make it work.
completely different that we've never done before. We're actually going to check in with Patrick out in the vineyard, and we're going to get Patrick up on the Skype call now and loop him into the conversation. So Patrick is going to be down in our vineyards at our Buckley Station vineyard at the southern tip of the Napa Valley. And looks like it's coming up now. Patrick can figure out how to turn his camera on. Oh, modern technology. Look at that. So let's add Patrick to the call. There you are, Patrick. Oh, the sun's come out for you.
Yeah, sun's come out. It's gotten pretty windy, too. I'm standing here at Buckley Station. It's at the southern end of the Napa Valley. Pretty much the southern end of Carneros. You can see behind me, this vineyard butts right up to the San Pablo Bay there.
It's a little bit windy, Patrick.
Yeah, can you hear me okay?
Yeah, we can hear you. It's definitely on the windy side, though.
Just balance the elements.
It tends to kick up in the afternoons out here.
Yeah, so I can see in the background there, where our vineyard there ends at Buckley Station, as you said, the southern tip of Napa Valley. But could you just walk us through what stage the vines are at and what you're seeing out in the vineyard today?
Yeah, absolutely. Let me turn the camera around and show more of the vines. If it wants to do it, there it goes.
Technically challenged. Hold that camera steady, mate.
Yeah. All right, so right now the vines are about 12 to 16 inches long. And they actually came out of hibernation about a month early this year because February was so dry and warm. Luckily, though, we saw quite a bit of rain and good weather in March and the first part of this month. So the vines have kind of gotten back on track. But as you can see, the vines are looking pretty good. The shoots are growing. And I'm going to try to get a shot here of a flower cluster for you. Let's see.
Oh, there's one. Yep.
There you go. So this flower cluster, I expect to see some bloom in about a month.
Yep.
And then it'll turn into a nice Chardonnay cluster ready for harvest.
And you said earlier we're about a month ahead of normal in terms of bud burst, but it's cooled down in March. Do you think we're on track for a normal harvest date, sort of late August, first week of September, or do you think it's going to be different?
No, I think we're going to be pretty close to normal. We might be a week or two ahead of schedule, but nothing real significant. Not like we were expecting back in February when we
Yeah.
were starting to see bud break.
And I'll just point out to everyone that little cluster he's showing there, those are all inflorescences. They're little tiny flowers. And in a little while, the cap's going to pop off that flower in the next couple of weeks, as Patrick said, and that flower is going to self-fertilize, and each flower is going to form a grape. And so that'll turn into a cluster about the size of a fist, and that's what we'll be going through and picking at night to make Rombauer Chardonnay. Well, Patrick, thanks for joining us. We're going to let you off the hook now and let you go home.
I can feel the fresh air.
All right.
His hammock's calling him.
His hammock's calling
Yeah.
him. Cheers, mate. Have a good one.
evening, guys. Take care.
All right. Cheers. What a treat. That was cool.
Yeah.
Cool to see what was going on out there.
And you can hear that collective sigh of relief with a little bit later back to normal harvest and not a month early.
Yeah, that was a little scary.
Yeah, that month early was a little bit scary. But as we said, we're on to the next wine now. And if on the screen there, you can see this is where Patrick was down here, this little red dot, Buckley Station, at the very southern tip of the Napa Valley. Basically, this is where the Napa Valley ends. You have a little bit of salt plain, and then from there it's San Pablo Bay. But this is about as far as you can go down the Napa Valley, and so it has a much different fruit profile than the regular Rombauer Chardonnay. The first vintage of this was 2012.
Yeah, 12, I reckon.
I was an intern, I knew.
Yeah, I mean, as Andrew said, we have anywhere from 140 to 160 base wines to blend with to make the classic Rombauer Chardonnay, which we just tasted. But the Buckley Station being a single vineyard, we only have a handful of lots and a handful of blocks. So over many, many years, we've had this vineyard now for almost 20 years that the Rombauer family own. We've used different techniques, aerial infrared mapping, soil mapping, to sort of work out what the best part of the vineyards are. But the reason we selected Buckley and Home Ranch to be our single vineyard wines was, one, they taste different to Rombauer Chardonnay. They're very uniquely different, but they're a large blend component of Rombauer Chardonnay. But more importantly, they're very high quality. There's no point making a wine and bowling as a single vineyard wine and going, look, it's really good because it's different. Just because it's different doesn't make it good. We were looking for vineyards or two particular sites that were truly high class, yet were a little bit different than Rombauer Chardonnay. And but what's amazing about them, if you actually blend the Home Ranch and the Buckley together, it tastes almost exactly like Rombauer Chardonnay, but with more depth and weight. So because they're two of the components, they're
big components.
they really show to themselves.
It's
amazing.
well, no, I mean,
No. I was just saying it's amazing how different they are.
Yeah. Well, they're basically for us on the ends of the spectrum. You have the Buckley with much higher natural acidity, more citrus-driven palate.
Yep.
And then you go all the way to Home Ranch, which is, it has a nice bright natural acidity, but it's way more textural.
Yeah.
And Home is always about that. But, Buckley is all about brightness and freshness. And
it's got a very linear focus to the palate.
Yeah, there's a linear focus as well as a minerality to it that really brings that underlying backbone.
This is definitely one of my favorite of the Chardonnays we make year in, year out. And what I love about it is behind that intense lemon, key lime sort of flavor, like what did you call it the other day? Like lemon meringue, Luke?
Oh, yeah.
There's this saline quality to it.
Yep.
And it's almost like a freshly shucked oyster. You don't see it so much in this bottle now because, the 18's got a bit of bottle age on it. It's been bottle a year. But when it's first bottled, it definitely has this saline quality to it, which
Racy
is really
acidity.
unique. Racy acidity.
Right, it does.
Yep.
And that's what it does well with almost like a Sauvignon Blanc pairing. Because it almost hits that same flavor profile.
Yeah.
I mean, it's a richer wine, obviously. It's a different style, but the flavors are right there in line with it. And something that's really unique, I always find with Buckley, is when we go to blend, we basically work with 3 different decades of plantings.
Absolutely,
So the oldest blocks, planted 80,
I can actually
89.
pull one of those up now on the screen. So you can see here, there's a vineyard in the foreground. This is looks like H block, and there's our reservoir down there, which is actually we use a lot of recycled water from Sonoma County for irrigating this vineyard, so we don't actually have to pump any groundwater. But then behind that reservoir, before you get to that old relay house in the background, there is the oldest plantings we have, and that's G block, which is definitely one of my favorites. And it is planted in 1984, 86.
I think it's 86.
86.
And I think what's amazing about it is just the depth and the texture you get, but it retains so much acidity. but it never comes off as just acidic. It just comes off as perfectly balanced because of the depth of the fruit.
Yeah.
And then we have the other M block, and it's it's generally one of the first things we harvest. And,
in 1 week.
Yeah, in 1 week is always, maybe not always first, but it's close.
Yep.
And then all the way to the oldest blocks. I mean, you're looking at 6 weeks later, you possibly.
Yeah, generally G block, it's probably about 6 weeks later. It's usually the last stuff we pick out there. Yep.
Unless we're doing Joy about 20 weeks later.
20 weeks later, yeah. Luke, can you talk a little bit about how we go about selecting the barrels and for Buckley and the reserve wines in general?
Yeah. So as we mentioned earlier, the Chardonnay have about 140 different barrel lots. Keep everything as separate as possible. And then what we do, we sit at this table with all the lots and we'll go through and we'll taste them all and we'll pick the best lots we think. And then about a couple of weeks later, we'll do it again with the lots that we thought were exceptional quality. And then we'll narrow it down to a few. And then we'll do a rough blend on the table. And then what we've been doing the last few weeks is going in, tasting each individual barrel. Because even though it could be the same barrel, same wine,
same Cooper,
same build at the same time.
It's like this has been its own little world for 9 months, and it's like one could be phenomenal, and the next one's like, So we go, nope, and so we only pick, it's either yes or no. And if we start,
between all three.
I mean, what's to sort of dumb that down a little for normal people, not winemakers. When we ferment in barrel, the juice goes to those barrels and ferments in that barrel, and it stays in that exact same barrel for 9 months. So every barrel is like its own individual ferment. Yeah. We just happen to have several thousand of them. So as Luke said, even if it's the same Cooper, same juice, filled a few minutes apart, every barrel can taste a little bit different based on its fermentation kinetics. Yeah. And so we have to taste every barrel because we're looking for specific things. And we were doing this yesterday, going through the barrels for Buckley, actually.
Yeah, it was all the Buckley.
It was G-Block. And there was one barrel I was like, maybe we should put it in. Luke looks at me and goes, you're messing with the criteria. If we don't all agree, it doesn't go in. I was like, okay, put a cross on it that we're not putting that barrel on the blend.
He has to do as he preaches, I know. That's why we're here. We're the regulators.
Yeah, regulator. Keep me in check, huh?
Yeah, that's why we can't all be in uniform today either, so I can't always match what you all think. I can't wear what you...
You are an outlier, aren't you?
Yeah. Have to be. I don't need subtitles.
But yeah, I mean, this is definitely a favorite with Sons at restaurants, this wine, just because of its natural acidity can really pair it with a lot of different foods. Yeah. And I know the Joy of wine, or Joy of cooking pairing is
barley risotto,
which we'll get up on the screen there, which is that looks pretty bloody good actually. And risotto has a lot of cheese, a lot of stock. It's quite a strong flavor, and so you need a wine with acid can stand up to it. My actual favorite pairing I've ever had with this was at a Michelin star restaurant in Sacramento, and we had a lobster mac and cheese.
Oh,
and that was quite a few years ago, and it was probably probably one of the best pairings I've ever had.
Well, see, that's such amazing because that's on the other end of like cutting through the richness.
Yeah,
and just it's not perfectly complementary, but they work so well together. It adds a new dimension to the food. And I mean, I was just thinking about my pairing is just like oysters on the half shell, just like clean oysters, and it's an amazing because the acidity, and that brininess, it brings out the salty.
Oysters with a bit of fresh Meyer lemon, just squeezed on top and salt. Yeah,
I mean, and it brings out that salinity on the wine that you get from the bay. It's an amazing. I don't know.
Getting a little excited there, Andrew.
I am. I had to get oysters a couple of weeks back, and so it might be an oyster Saturday. That's what my weekends are built around now. Food pairings.
Pairings, yeah. I think that's what most people are doing at the moment.
I know. Yeah.
Shelter in place, sip more wine. That seems to be the
entertainment,
the MO at the moment.
It is. Oh man.
But then, Luke, did you have a favorite pairing with this wine?
Not off the top of my head, mate.
Not off the top of your head. Puts you on the spot.
Yeah, I should have had something prepared.
You think you would have got that right in the rehearsal?
He just thought it was taste the wine's delicious time.
Yeah, very fine with food or without.
Well, I think with that we should probably, while people have the Buckley in their glass, if they have a second glass, we should get the home ranch in their glass as well, which Luke just tapped on there, just so they can see why we selected these two particular sites. One, because they're different to one another, but two, because they are truly world class. So home ranch, this is a vineyard that we don't actually own. It's owned by the San Giacomo family, and the reason it's called Home Ranch is that's where they built their original homestead. So they're fifth generation now, Italian farmers. The Rombauer family's been buying fruit from them in Carneros since 1990. It's been a very fruitful long-term partnership. They are probably some of the best, if not the best, Chardonnay growers in the world. They have an incredible array of sites, but probably the most prized is for us is probably Home Ranch. There's a couple of old blocks there that were planted in 1980 and 1982. Just trying to get
82.
82, fabulous year.
Yeah.
Fabulous.
Not only is birthier boy here, but incredible Chardonnay every year.
Yeah. So here's a photo of a home ranch that I've just put up on the screen. You can see there's a homestead there. That's not the homestead, why it's called Home Ranch. But the tree line in the background there by the fog, there's a stream. And that actual block right in front of us there is actually Home 82. So this is really what makes up the core of the Home Ranch Chardonnay you have in your glass.
Yep.
Yeah.
It's also a core component for Rombauer Chardonnay.
It actually comes in towards the end of harvest.
The old block does,
Yeah,
yeah.
So-
basically all the way towards the end.
So, as Buckley was some of the early stuff, or the first stuff come in, this is more towards the end as we pick. But it's a lot more weightier and textural. It's probably my favorite. It's probably the bottle my wife has open at home right now.
To give you a little bit of perspective, this was also the first wine Luke was ever put in charge of. Was
2012.
picking the grapes, decided on the picks for this, deciding on the blend, what he wanted in it. I basically
Must have
guided
did all
you.
right
I
because
didn't-
otherwise I wouldn't be here, I guess.
but I basically said to Luke, "This is your baby. Here's what I'd like to see it taste like, but go get it." And that year, I think we got a 93 or 94 on Spectator.
Yeah, something like that.
It was pretty remarkable. But it was Luke's first wine he ever got to call every pick.
Yeah,
call the
my first
blend,
real baby, and now I have
and,
two babies.
get it all the
now.
way through. So I know Luke's mum is watching in South Australia right now, so I thought I'd throw that in there for her.
Hi, Mum.
But I mean, if you've got these wines in your glass side by side, I think one thing to do would be to compare them. You'll see that the Buckley is very lime and lemon
Focused.
rind, very, very focused and leaning through the
bit
palate. Whereas the
floral.
Home Ranch, on the nose, it's got more of like a candied peach. There's a little bit of spice. There's like a creamy texture to it on the palate, but it's really rich
orange.
and voluptuous and soft and mouth coating. And if you blend the two together, you get Rombauer Chardonnay. It's definitely when it's young, that peach character tends to come through, and as it ages, you get more of that dry straw and briary flavors.
I'm getting a lot of orange from it as well, from on the citrus side.
Yep.
Like an orange rind to it. It's just to retain that freshness to the profile. But it's amazing how much depth it has.
It does.
Like it's something that, and when you look at the fruit coming in, it's not like that picture perfect looking. Every size is the same. It's the hens and chicks. There's a variable size of the actual grapes.
Yeah, they're really,
and it really contributes to that texture.
Yeah,
it's amazing.
I think what I want to point out to people is the winemaking for this particular wine.
Yeah.
Between the classic Rombauer Chardonnay and the Home Ranch or the Buckley or Proprietary Reserve is identical.
Yep.
Certain lots will get natural yeast, certain lots will get inoculated yeast, but they're all hand-picked, whole cluster pressed. The barrel selection is slightly different. The fermentation is the same. But what it really comes down to when we're selecting out for these reserve wines is it's an individual barrel selection. Yep. So from those 100 or 60 lots or so, we select the best. As Luke said, we go through, we select the best barrels. So all we're really doing is picking the best of the best.
Yeah. And I mean, it's amazing how many of those add up over the course of the few days of the last week. I mean, my teeth are very tender.
Yeah. I definitely almost floored myself last night when I caught a nerve on one of my molars because it's so sensitive, and had to break out the prescription fluoride toothpaste to try and get some mineral fluoride back into my enamelled teeth.
Winemaking's so glamorous sometimes.
I know. But I mean, and
Edric,
it amazes me the home, it can handle so much more new oak. It just basically absorbs it.
Yeah.
Like there's an inherent, the texture of it almost just complements that oak perfectly.
Yeah, I mean, some really, I think it was 15.
Yeah.
Was 100% new oak. And
I think we've done it even a couple times.
Yeah, and then the wine doesn't taste like oak.
No.
It just I mean, you could almost double oak it. It just eats those oak barrels up, and they lift the wine and caress the fruit and give you more depth and flavor.
But it needs it to balance it.
It does. Otherwise, it's almost sickly sweet.
Right. And that's why you go back to Buckley. It's only ever about a quarter or a third, maybe.
Yeah, about a third for Buckley.
I mean, it every year it's a little bit different, but
Slightly
that's
different
what
barrel
works perfectly
selection.
for that.
Yeah.
But barrel selection is always the biggest.
Generally, with Buckley, we find we use more of a softer French oak. Definitely barrels that are lighter toast, longer toast, more seasoned in terms of how long the wood's been aged before it's been made into a barrel, just because the wine's a bit more delicate. Whereas with Home Ranch, we tend to use more of a medium to medium long toast, just barrels that have more flavor impact, and the wine can just eat it up and never taste over oaked.
And it melts perfectly with it. So we're getting a question. How do you know from tasting a barrel that, not that it's for reserve, but the Chardonnay is ready? So I guess it's like ready, I guess.
When it tastes good.
Yeah, when it tastes good. I guess that just goes back to tasting year in, year out.
Yeah. A lot of it's intuition. There's a lot of, there's obviously different flavor profiles we're looking for certain wines, and making sure that they taste like a Rombauer Chardonnay.
The acids in check.
The acids in check. They've had enough lee stirring, they're creamy enough. It just tastes ready. I mean, there's you know it when you taste it, right?
Yeah.
It's like, what makes a good dish taste good? When it's in balance and it tastes ready.
And your palate just knows it.
Yeah.
And that's what, for people at home that, aren't always as privy to the information, for malolactic fermentation for us, it's the conversion of malic to lactic acid. So it's basically softening the acid of the wine.
Yeah.
And dropping the acid a little bit, but it's making it back in balance. So we're always shooting for that perfect balance moment. And that's basically what, year in, year out that we're going for.
Yep.
Yeah. No, definitely. No, you're right. It's just, and we've been doing it 15 years now, 14 years.
You would hope you learn something year in, year out.
Yeah, hopefully.
You hope you figured it out by now, right? Yeah.
I'm still in training mode.
Yeah.
Yeah, we know. We've got your training wheels on.
You're just okay.
Yeah, my training wheels. I'm down to one training wheel.
All right, now, joy of cooking.
Yeah, food pairings.
All right, Andrew.
So our joy of cooking pairing is scallops Meunier. So breaded with some lemon, a little brown butter. But yeah, the picture looks delicious.
No, that's not them. Sorry.
The picture still looks delicious. I'm looking over some shoulders to see this.
We should have got that right in the rehearsal. But, that's. Yeah. Scallops to me with this wine, just because of their strong flavor.
Yeah.
Actually, just like lobster, like freshly boiled lobster tail.
Yeah.
With like a lemon butter sauce.
King crab legs with drawn butter.
That would be.
My wife's favorite is king crab legs, so I have to say that.
You have to chuck that one in there.
Yeah, or I'll hear about it.
Yeah.
Well, I'm pairing this lovely tonight with spaghetti bolognese, and I think it's going to be fabulous.
Oh, well, I think
because that's what I'm having for dinner.
Yeah, I think ours will be something just whipped up quickly. So it might be chicken nuggets.
Chicken nuggets. But yeah, this is probably one of the more powerful Chardonnays we make. So like the Rombauer Chardonnay, the classic Rombauer Chardonnay can definitely stand up to very rich foods. Whether it's pork or chicken, or if you're still inclined to bolognese, Luke, it could definitely stand up to it. Get wild. Actually, one of my favorite things to have with this, if I'm just having a glass at home, which doesn't happen very often because I don't have many bottles of it, is just fresh Parmesan off the block.
Yeah, that's hard to beat.
Ah, yum.
Yeah. That was champagne, or with Home Ranch Chardonnay is definitely one of my favorites.
Parmesan, he's like my 2-year-old, just block Parmesan. Her favorite meal.
She wants the good stuff from the block, Dad, from Whole Foods.
And she knows it can't be from the normal little compartment. It needs to be the aged Parmesan Reggiano.
Oh yeah. Yours are my daughter.
Yeah.
Fantastic.
Yeah. Not that I didn't train her.
Well, we're gonna move on to the next wine, which is gonna be
it's a favorite. This one, it's a good one.
Proprietor Reserve Chardonnay.
Yeah, our top tier.
Our top tier of Chardonnay. So, what we're basically doing with this wine, we're trying to make a Rombauer Chardonnay that has more depth, more richness, more texture, more of everything for everyone. So when we're going through barrel selections and lot selections for this particular wine, It can come from anywhere. As I said, the winemaking is the same for pretty much all of the lots that we make. And the reason it's the same is we've perfected the style over many decades now, and we feel like we know what we're doing. And we basically have every lot that comes in has the chance to make it to reserve grade. It all comes down to how that vineyard performs that year and how it tastes. And if it tastes right, it can go in this wine. So some years, obviously, there's going to be portions of the Buckley and the Home Ranch in this particular wine.
Yep.
It can be a little bit from St. Giacomo's Green Acres.
Yeah. Actually, this is the first year we put DeVito in it.
DeVito. Speaking of DeVito,
And DeVito's kind of a big point for us.
Yeah, we probably should talk about that, Richie.
Yeah. So I'm going to put up the screen now.
Ding.
This is our DeVito vineyard in Carneros. This is 180 acres of Chardonnay that we planted. It was the largest parcel of unplanted land in Carneros, and we purchased this property in 2013 from the DeVito family, hence the name DeVito, and has a beautiful water source, beautiful rolling hillsides. If you're looking at that hill in the background there, the photo that was taken of that hill is actually a very famous photo which you've all seen before called Bliss, and that was the Windows 2000 background, that green rolling hills. But right on that hillside there, in the background where you have the rows coming down, they bump into block A7. And A7 is at the top of the flatland there, and that actually went into the 2018 Proprietor Reserve. So it was the first time DeVito had ever risen to that level of quality. We were pretty excited when it happened, and it bodes well for the future. Who knows, maybe in a few years we might see a single vineyard DeVito.
Yeah, I mean, as you see the vine age get older and you get a little bit more depth, it's amazing that just the first couple of years when we got fruit, just the intensity that we were already seeing of being, a 4-year-old planting, 3-year-old planting, it's pretty incredible. Yeah,
I mean, the vines now, it was planted 2013, so 6 years old, but they are incredibly, I mean, we basically, everything we'd learned about planting vineyards over the last 3 decades has been applied in planting that vineyard. So how we select rootstocks, how we prepare the soil, how we plant, the clones, the row orientation, how we manage the canopy. Every little thing had been thought out to the nth degree to make sure that when that vineyard went in the ground, it was going to be a premier Chardonnay vineyard for us to help lift the quality of Rombauer Chardonnay now and into the future, but also with the idea that we didn't want to replant that vineyard in 20 or 25 years, which is pretty standard practice for a commercial vineyard. The whole idea behind putting that investment in to plant the vineyard the way we did was that future generations of the Rombauer family and future generations of Rombauer winemakers will hopefully be working with the same blocks, and hopefully we got it right and didn't stuff it up. But the fact that as such a young vineyard it made it into Proprietor Reserve for us is bodes well for the future.
It does.
Yeah, it does. It tastes kind of a little bit like Buckley, but then also a bit like the San Giacomo Ranch. Has a bit of both. Best of both worlds.
And it sits basically right in between them.
Yeah.
And so you know that basically when we get that coming in, everything's hitting the fan.
Going to be exciting.
Yeah.
Going to be exciting.
It's a 20-hour day.
Yeah, well, it is. Andrew's not lying. I remember, was it 2017?
17.
The heat.
17, we had a very, very early harvest. We were still actually finishing up bottling the classic Rombauer Chardonnay, and the fruit started rolling in. We had 5 days over 95. A lot of triple-digit days. And it was me, Luke, and Andrew on the crush pad because all of our staff were busy getting the winery ready for harvest or bottling.
Bottling, yeah.
And so we worked 4 back-to-back 18-hour to 20-hour days.
Yeah, we did more forklifting during those few days. And, I've never seen. I had to be very careful around you all.
It's always good when the cellar guys are busy because we actually get to do work. Now they just come and kick us off the forklifts or something like that. So.
Get out of here.
It was actually fun because we did about. I mean, we're all like the whole idea at Rombauer is that when the fruit is ready to be picked, we can pick it.
Yep.
And that we don't have to wait for the schedule to free up. So to give you an idea of how fast we can do it, that particular year, 2017, we did 35% of the Chardonnay in 72 hours, hand harvested, picked into barrel. And the only reason we can do that is because the Rombauer family has invested very, very heavily in their winemaking facilities, their staff, their equipment. So when push comes to shove and you have a warm year, or say a year like 2010 or 11 where we had rain, that we can pick the fruit faster than anyone else and get it to barrel and get it safely into the winery to protect the quality of the wine. And that's incredibly luxurious to have as a winemaker, that if it's ready, you pick it. You don't have to worry about your schedule.
You're not waiting on someone else.
Fit?
Yeah.
is that
You
too
don't
many
have to turn a
tons
tank.
that day?
Yeah.
So, and
Bring
I'm
it all.
lucky I've got these two jokers who every time I say, oh, it's going to be a lot of fruit, do we think we could do it? They always just say yes and say, yep, bring it.
A lot of
bring it.
burritos
Yeah,
eaten.
burritos.
So,
I mean, logistically being able to ramp up like that quickly. I mean, you can turn on a dime and go from, oh, yesterday was boring 20 tons to turn around like 250 that
there's
morning.
been many a times I've put in everyone's gone home on Friday night and I've said, yep, everybody's got the weekend off. And by Saturday morning, everybody's coming in. We're working a 72-hour straight shift.
It's even better when you're like, you got through Saturday and there's no work for the guys. And then all of a sudden, Sunday, come on in. Surprise.
Well, sometimes the weather changes fast.
Hey, we're at the mercy of something else. You know, we're to
back
make
to
the
the
best
wine.
wine.
Let's go back to
Yes.
the wine for the people listening in.
Yes, the proprietor Chardonnay selection.
Let's talk about the flavors, Luke.
All right, so this one's like, I describe it as our classic Chardonnay, but on steroids, but finesse, richer, just more intense.
Perfect balance of it all.
Yeah.
I mean, you get that white peach and the stone fruit, but you also still get that citrus and that like honeysuckle.
Yeah, because you get the bit of Buckley, and then you have the home ranch fatness, but then a couple extra select blocks. This one, the DeVito, but it's got like even more juicy acid.
Yeah, there
on
is.
the palate.
It's amazing how long it is. It carries for like a solid 60 seconds. After
Definitely
you finish it.
lots of layers of flavor
There
in it,
is.
where the single vineyard wines, it's all about an expression of a site, but they're pretty linear in their fruit profile.
Yeah, I mean, there's
Whereas this, it has elements of Bucket, it has elements of Home Ranch, it has elements of DeVito, it has elements of Green Acres, it has all these different layers that blend seamlessly across the palate. So one person might go, oh, it smells more like grapefruit. Another person, no, it smells more like lemon curd to me. Another person might say, no, it's orange peel or melon or peach. Like it's very multifaceted in its
and each
flavor
sip
profile.
you can take one sip and see something, and then the next sip will be a completely different profile.
Especially as it warms up in the glass.
Yeah, and that's what's amazing. The temperature on Chardonnay. I mean, I know some people really like it cold, but once you get it around that 50-degree mark, it really starts expressing its fruit.
It's a sweet spot. Hey, Richie, what about like aging Chardonnay?
Aging Chardonnay. Good question. A plant. Who told you to do that one? Aging Chardonnay. So Rombauer Chardonnay is really, really interesting. We get this question a lot, and I always used to tell people, any Rombauer Chardonnay, drink in the first 5 years. The proprietor and the single vineyard, especially Buckley, really, drink in the first 10 years. But classic Rombauer Chardonnay always said the first 5 years. But a couple of years back, we did a library tasting of every single wine that has ever been made at Rombauer, and we went through them all over the course of a couple of days. There's a few hundred different wines, every single vintage, and we found that Rombauer Chardonnay really does well up to about 5 years of bottle age. Then it goes through a bit of a flat spot for about 2 or 3 years. And about the 8 to 9 year mark, it starts to open back up and taste like a beautifully aged, rich, lush Chardonnay. So what I tell people now is drink it in the first 5 years. If you're lucky enough to hang on to it, between 5 and 8, don't bother. Wait till it hits 8 years of age and then drink it again. And we did Pebble Beach Food and Wine a couple of years ago. I was on a panel doing Rombauer Chardonnay, and we did the current release, and we did 2010. And it was pretty remarkable having the classic Rombauer 2010 Chardonnay, as well as our proprietor reserve, which was, I still think, one of the best wines we've ever made, the 2010.
My first year at Rombauer, so.
Yeah. We didn't let him touch it. That's why it was so good. But those 2010s were drinking brilliantly. And, they were 8 years of age at that stage. So, if you can hang on to them to 8 years of age, I highly recommend it. But if you're not, if you're
Hide them from
avid
yourself.
consumer
Get lost in the cellar somehow.
like most of us are, they are generally, you're lucky if you can make them last 12 months.
Yeah, the turnover's a little quick on them at my house.
One thing we do see a lot of is when we first release a new vintage. So usually Rombauer Chardonnay, honestly, it's usually all gone in the first 12 months from the winery that we're sold out. And so people start drinking it through the summer. They maybe open their first bottle in the spring and really start enjoying white wines. They drink it over the summer. And what happens over that summer period, it's had about 6 months in bottle and starts to get very rich, very creamy. And usually around April, May, the year after bottling, when people really start consuming wine because it warms up, that buttery flavor starts to come out. Yep. And so it's really hard to tell what's butter, what's vanilla, what's creamy, but it's really that buttery component from the malolactic fermentation starts to show. And then by the end of the summer, they run out of wine. And come July, August, we release the new vintage. And what happens is that they go,
Richie changed it.
You've changed winemaker. Oh, I've heard you've changed the style. Now, some of our competitors love to like say that we've changed the style, but we haven't. The winemaking's the same. The team's the same. I mean, I'm coming up on my 17th vintage, Luke on his 15th, and Andrew on his 10th. We haven't changed anything. But what happens is when that wine's first released, in July, it's usually only been in the bottle a few weeks. It's very tight. It's very citrusy.
Yeah,
and that
fresh.
buttery component and that creamy texture is a little bit repressed, and it's hidden in the back of the wine. But over the winter, the wine evolves in the bottle, and by spring the next year, I usually say April, May, the wine starts to get richer, more density. The creamy texture really starts to show. And by May, that buttery component's really starting to come out. And then everybody enjoys the wine through the summer. They go nuts drinking it. Then we run out.
Repeat.
We release a new vintage, and the cycle starts again.
Repeat.
So what I usually tell, we have our DTC, direct-to-consumer team upstairs, our customer service reps. If you get an email or a phone call, email the winemaking team or give us that person's phone number and we'll call them directly. So we spend a lot of time usually in August and September, right before harvest, answering people's calls and comments that we've changed the wine. And I personally love calling customers and freaking them out and explaining things. But all that tells me is that our customers actually know our wine so well.
Yep.
They're so accustomed to it, and they know what the wine should taste like so well. They can tell when it's not right. And it's not that they're wrong. It's just that the wine is going to change over 6 months.
It's a different point in its life.
Yeah.
I mean, I get voicemails from my mom. I just ignore them. It's still the same.
sorry, Mrs. Holloway. We'll rate him in for you.
And then one more thing I forgot, but something I was actually just became aware of was Rombauer Chardonnay was actually the most popular Chardonnay in restaurants the past 2 years by Wine and Spirits. Number one restaurant Chardonnay the past 2 years running in the whole United States. Pretty incredible. Yeah, I mean, to be number one.
Yeah,
not first loser, number one winner.
Incredibly popular. So the wines are available nationally. We have 1 cent shipping right now.
Yep.
But due to everyone being on shelter in place, I would highly suggest either going to your local independent retailer or local retailer, or going to your local restaurant that's doing takeout and helping support them and buying a bottle of wine. It doesn't have to be Rombauer, but whoever it is, and enjoy it and let's try and keep everyone in business. It'd be nice.
Yeah. I'd be happier if it's Rombauer. Personally.
That's right. Well, have we done a pairing for this one?
We have not done a pairing.
No.
We're getting sidetracked big time today.
Oh, yeah.
Chardonnay, it's exciting. Ooh, look at that.
No.
Crab cakes?
Crab cakes.
So, I also saw these on the Instagram the other day, and Allie was like, we're having crab cakes soon. But yeah, a crab, again, it's pretty hard to beat.
Yeah, good crab cakes.
Crab cakes, just a fresh crab, soft shell crab, fried whole, little soft shell crab taco. Yep. Delicious. With a little spice.
When this sheltering in place is done, I'm coming to your house.
I know.
I've written down 10 dishes the last 2 weeks.
New outdoor table.
It doesn't taste the same when he shows us on Zoom, does it?
No, it doesn't. Oh, great.
I'm trying to think. I honestly, my favorite pairing would be crab cakes for this.
Yeah, it's pretty hard to beat.
It's pretty hard to beat.
Yeah, I would agree.
Or
especially in San Francisco.
Seared scallop. How do you say scallop, Andrew? Sorry, I always
scallop.
Say scallop.
Yeah, we don't want anyone to get it confused with scallop and like turkey or something. Scallop.
Seared scallops for everyone down under, or scallops for the northern hemisphere.
For us northerners. Oh, well, I guess.
All right. Well, next is Richie's favorite wine.
One quick sidetrack before we forget. Marsha, happy birthday.
Yes. Happy birthday, Marsha.
Yeah. So shout out to Marsha.
All right.
Now
late harvest Chardonnay, Richie.
Last wine. We've only got 10 minutes, so
we can
carried away again.
Yes.
All right, Richie, while I'm pouring, get us going.
The last one we have today is, I would say, one of the more special and rare wines that we make. It's a dessert wine, a Botrytis Chardonnay. This was actually the first wine I was put in charge of making at Rombauer. We don't make it every year. It's just not possible. We need specific conditions in the vineyard. And when we say Botrytis, for those of you that don't know, Botrytis is actually a mold, which on regular Chardonnay grapes, we're always preventing. We're always trying to prevent it by opening up the canopy, dusting with sulfur. It's all about preventing molds. But with Botrytis wines, you actually want mold to grow, and you want a particular type of mold called Botrytis cinerea. What you really need to do, though, and this is where it gets really hard, is you need to get the grapes ripe and then get the mold to grow. Yeah. And usually in a challenging year, say like 2011, you have botrytis before the grapes are ripe. And so everyone goes, oh, it must be a great year for making dessert wine because you have lots of botrytis. It's like, no, actually it sucks because the grapes aren't ripe and they're already rotting. But if you can get the grapes ripe and then get botrytis to grow, it grows and the grapes get moldy. So what happens is if you have a sunny afternoon and a foggy, moist morning, that foggy, moist morning allows the mold to grow. It gives it enough moisture to grow on the skins. And when the sunny afternoon comes, it induces that mold to sporulate. So it grows under the skin of the grapes. When you get that sunny afternoon, the spores pierce the skins. They grow from under the skin out, and it allows the grape to dehydrate and shrink. And so when that happens, the botrytis actually causes a loss of moisture. It also actually reduces the total sugar a little because it eats a little bit of sugar, but it's offset by how much moisture you lose.
Yep.
And those grapes dehydrate, and they start to look like this.
That looks
which
so appetizing.
doesn't look particularly good. So if I bring my mouse over these particular grapes here, you can see right there, that is botrytis. And what's that doing is it's growing on the skin, it's sporulating. And so what we're looking to do is get these shriveled down grapes. And the botrytis also produces secondary compounds that give it like a nutty, roasted honey flavor called sotalon. And it's all about getting the very, very concentrated sugar.
I mean, so it's like a wildflower honey.
Yeah.
It's like fresh almonds.
To get this to happen is really, really challenging because it doesn't happen every year. So what we actually do is G block down at Buckley, which is the very bottom block, one of the oldest blocks. We induce it by putting overhead sprinklers on and turn them on for about 5 minutes in the morning to simulate like moist dew and fog.
Yep.
And then when the sun comes in the afternoon, the moisture burns off and the botrytis sporulates. So it's naturally occurring, but it's induced with a bit of moisture. It only happens perfectly about once every 5 years. And in 2018, which was a very long growing season, it didn't rain until December. We were able to let these grapes hang out there longer because once you've got botrytis growing, you don't want it to rain heavily because they'll just fall apart and disintegrate on the vine. So we had very, very high botrytis infection, about 99%.
Pretty incredible.
Completely collapsed berries, and we had very, very concentrated juice. And it was actually the highest concentration of sugar I've ever seen, which was 46 bricks.
48.
48 and a half. So in a normal year, we hit about 36 bricks. Yep. Regular Chardonnays picked at about 24 bricks. 48. So it was the most concentrated we've ever seen. Another thing we do that's really unique with this wine is obviously it's like all the Rombauer Chardonnays, it's barrel fermented. But the three of us were out in Missouri at one of our stavewood suppliers that supplies American oak for us for our Chardonnay program. And they had a particular type of American oak called chinkapin. And chinkapin tends to grow down along streams, and it's a coarser grain oak, and it's generally used for spirit barrels. But they had some extra fine grain, which is what you want as a winemaker. The fine grain oak is the best for making wine. They had extra fine grain chinkapin barrels, and the stave would have been seasoned for 5 years. Normally, American oak is only seasoned for 3 years. So we took these extra fine grain chinkapin American oak barrels that have been seasoned the stave wood for 5 years, brought it to Napa, Demptos Napa Cooperage coopered into barrels for us, and me and Luke went through and selected the ones we wanted, and we barrel fermented this in freshly toasted barrels. So barrels that were made, raised, and the toast put on them that morning, and while they were still warm, they were delivered to the winery, and we fermented this extraordinarily concentrated, extra high bricks, once in a lifetime juice in these barrels. So
it's like putting a filling in a fresh pie crust.
Yeah, it's I mean, it's beyond decadent, and it's probably one of the like I said, I doubt I'll ever get to see a botrytis Chardonnay like this again in my career. So
no, I mean, this is basically a one-off.
It was a great, Plus, it's once it gets into the winery, it's slightly different process.
Yeah,
like we still, it's all still handpicked.
All whole clusters.
Whole cluster, but then instead of like a 2-hour cycle for the regular Chardonnay, I think we put it in for 24 hours.
Yeah,
and then 24. Just a slow press, and it just comes out like thick honey.
Yeah,
delicious gold.
I mean, you can see it in just the swirl of the viscosity.
Yeah. And the other thing about these dessert wines, especially well-made botrytis Chardonnays, like probably the most famous one is a wine from Bordeaux, from a region called, a sub-appellation Bordeaux called Sauternes, and it's Chateau Yquem. It's one of the most expensive wines in the world. Yep. The reason for that is, one, it's rare, it's super high quality, but it ages very well. And these wines age for a very long time. The first vintage of this, I think, was 1996. We made 96, 97, 2000,
05 and 06.
05, 06, 09, 15, and 18.
Yeah.
Yeah, because I was here for like 5 years before we even made it.
Yeah. And so, I mean, 2005, that was my second year at Rombauer. This was the first time I was sort of put in charge of taking care of a wine without much supervision from the then winemakers. And, I mean, it's one of the hardest wines you'll ever make because, one, you got to get the fruit to get ripe. Then you got to get it to get botrytis. And then when you get it into winery, it's almost impossible to make because it just wants to turn the vinegar. And so it's really hard to get it to ferment because it's so high in sugar. It's everything that could possibly go wrong seems to always go wrong with these wines. But when you get it right, you get a wine like this, which is joy.
Yeah.
It's a joy to drink, a joy to make. It's delicious.
Yeah.
Get vanilla bean ice cream, pour it a bit on, and there you go.
Pour a bit on.
That's my pairing.
Yeah.
I'm really excited to see this. I know we have, I mean, we sell this in 375s, but I know we have some magnums of it, and I know we have some 3 liters, and I'm going to be taking
the 3 liters
buying
are
one of those
incredible
3
looking.
liters, and I'll be opening that at my daughter's 21st because I know this wine will literally stand the test of time and age quite easily for that period of time, and probably another 4 decades after.
Yeah, I
that.
mean, I mean, you could easily like 40 years. I mean, it's crazy how long it could stay. It'll just develop a little bit of a darker hue.
Yeah.
We've been pretty crap on the questions today, Andrew.
We've been more limited, but it's more just because the Chardonnay speak for themselves.
Gotcha.
I'll leave it at that.
Yes. The joy of wine pairing for this one, mate?
The joy of wine pairing is
Banana pudding.
Yeah.
banana pudding.
Ooh, I would do panna cotta. Should be delicious.
I like to have this with foie gras. I'm serious.
With a side of steak.
I know, he's a classic.
Let's go for decadence, right? Let's just go like all out there. You have one of the
full on.
most richly concentrated wines you'll ever have in your life. Let's just go all out and have it with foie.
Classic lush boy.
Side of heart attack for later on.
For us big people. Oh man, but yeah, delicious. I mean,
Yeah, it's a pretty incredible wine, and we don't make it every year. We only make it every 3 to 5 years.
Yeah.
I know. I doubt we'll ever be able to make another one like this. To get conditions that were so perfect, to get it, perfect botrytis without any secondary infection in the cluster, and get it that ripe is unheard of.
yeah. I mean, I thought when we were last looking at it, it was going to come in December. It's crazy how long the season was on it.
No, I just saw someone post a comment saying they have a 2013 Chardonnay. That is an absolute classic vintage and one of the best 2013. So that is actually drinking really well right now. It's probably, if you don't drink it relatively soon, I would hang on to it for another 2 or 3 years before opening it up again.
Yeah. Getting that perfect little window. Well, I guess that kind of wraps us up on Chardonnay today.
Yeah, we're running out of time, but we do have another virtual tasting next week, but we will be taking it on the road, so to speak.
You're going to miss us, beautiful people.
So we're actually, you're not going to get the winemaking team next week. We're going to have Rombauer, our culinary edition. Our Midwest regional sales manager, Dan Furr, and his wife, Diane, will be doing a broadcast live from their kitchen in Roaring
Fork
Valley of Colorado.
Yeah.
Dan comes
Beautiful area.
from a restaurant background. His wife comes from a culinary background. She's a chef. And they're going to be doing a couple of dishes of different pairings with our Merlot and Sauvignon Blanc. So we've got a package that we're sending out. Andrew's going to talk a little bit more about that.
Yeah, so the package is going to have 2 Sauvignon Blancs, 2 Merlots, and then a tea towel. We either have our Merlot or Sauvignon Blanc towel, and then a corkscrew as well.
There is no free set of steak knives.
No, or steaks. But with 2 each, you can join us along and do the tasting as we go, as well as later on try it yourself and have it once we get out of isolation with some friends, or do it by yourself again. But it gives you an opportunity to taste it with the tasting as we go, and then later on, see how you handle it yourself. If they last that long.
Yeah.
I mean,
If they last that long.
Sauvignon Blanc for me is like, oh, sorry, lost it.
Yeah. 2 bottles of Sauvignon Blanc doesn't go very far.
No.
And I
should
have
just
to
make
say,
lemons.
like the Merlot, we did the Merlot the first week when it was just me and Andrew on the broadcast.
Yeah.
And it is definitely a star favorite. And, we just bottled the 18. I've had a few bottling line samples at home, and they have not gone very far. It is probably, I would say, one of the most underrated wines in the world is
It
Great
is.
Merlot. And it's definitely a star favorite. It's almost like Rombauer's best kept secret is the Merlot.
Yeah, I mean it's an amazing food wine as well. And just finished bottling the 18 today.
Yeah, we did.
That's
didn't we?
good.
Yeah, we just finished bottling 18 today. So next week it'll be Rombauer Culinary Hour with
Yep.
Dan Furr and his wife Diane, and it'll be the same time, 4 p.m. Pacific time, 7 p.m. Eastern time, and
Yeah,
Thursday.
we'll be watching from home with you with our own.
yeah,
Sauvignon
we'll
Blanc and
actually get to
Merlot.
enjoy it.
We'll be drinking.
Yeah, cheers.
Cheers, everyone. Thank you
Cheers,
so
everyone.
much.
Thanks
Thanks
for
for
joining
tuning
us. We'll see you again in a couple of weeks.
Yeah.
Cheers.
Adios.